Hi everyone, how are you? I am actually doing this live from a different location today. Some little vacationing. We rented a beach house, so I'm doing it from the beach house. As you can see the background, it is all old and vintage looking. I'm in this little nook here. It's a little hot here, but I got some private time. So today I wanted to I did a poll last week and pretty much across the board everyone was like, we need help with lead generation. So that's my specialty. Sales are my specialty. So I wanted to talk to you today that today's talk is about overcoming sales objections. So for any of you that don't know me, my name is Cheryl Hager. I own Sisters Who Scale, and I help women that are in the service industry scale their businesses to 6 figures and beyond. In doing that, working about 15 to 20 hours a week. So it can be done. I've done it myself with my own cleaning business, but the certain systems and implementation need to be in there for that to happen. So let's get started. So in an ideal world, your prospects are ready, willing, and able to buy, right? Unfortunately, we don't live in an ideal world, so objections are going to come up. And so how do we overcome them effectively? How do we turn those no's into yeses? How do we do it? It takes a little time, so don't fret. It doesn't happen overnight, and no one is perfect. We all get stuck as well. So how do we overcome an objection? So we're going to cover specific sales objections in a minute, but there's a process for overcoming objections in general. And so I teach how to practice that. So even if you're caught off guard, you have a better chance of overcoming that objection. So generally speaking, there are 4 basic steps. So the first step is just listen. So this is really, really important, right? Don't let your prospect just spell out their objections. Actually listen to what they're saying, because chances are you'll be able to anticipate potential objections before they even occur as they're talking, right? You can really read a person's body language. I've gotten good at reading people's body language over time, because what I do is I first seek to understand what they're saying, right? Are they uncomfortable with pricing? What are they uncomfortable with, right? I can feel it immediately on someone's body language. Maybe they had another service before us, so I will start to compare services, but I ask a million questions to find out, what was their service like, what they liked, what they didn't like, right? So I start to overcome these objections before they actually happen, right? By asking a bunch of questions. So be sure to give your prospect time to speak. Don't cut them off when they're talking. Just hear them out, because they really want to be heard in the conversation. They want you to understand their needs. And that's half the battle, right? So it'll help them feel like you're genuinely understanding and looking to help what they're looking for, which you are anyways. But sometimes when we're all nervous and get caught up in our own brains, we forget what we're actually here for, why we started the business, right? So if you can do this, you'll have a better chance of closing the deal. So number 2 is seek to understand, because people are complex, right? We don't always say exactly what we mean. We don't always use our words correctly, and our words still might be misinterpreted. So it's important to paraphrase your prospect's concerns to demonstrate that you understand their objection, right? So for example, you might say, just to be clear, so we're on the same page, you're concerned that onboarding the product that we have here may be too expensive, or it may cost too much in the long run to roll it out. Is that correct? So by qualifying and asking these questions, you can really get a good understanding on where they're at and what their needs are to be able to solve that problem, if you will, for them, right? Digging up all these objections for them. So number 3 is now, after you've done all these questions, is actually responding to the objection. So whether or not they seem like a serious objection to you, you should take them all seriously, because they all are serious, right? You don't want to just steamroller over them and ignore them and just keep going on with your spiel, because you'll lose them. You'll see them have a glassy-eyed look, and you'll see their body language start to lose attention by doing this, right? So the goal is to close them while you are in front of them. This is the best thing to do. I close probably 95% of them right in front of me. I can tell, and I just send them the link to pay, and they pay right there, right? So if the objection is something that they have the authority to handle themselves, because people are in different industries, I try and get in front of my prospect all the time. So I'll give you a quick example. When I go to do an estimate for a family, it's usually the wife. Most of the time, the wife will book it. But then she will say, oh, my husband's going to meet you there. No, he's not, because I'm not meeting with the husband. You know why? Because in my business, the person that makes the decisions is the wife. So I have actually walked up to the door. I had this one instance I'm thinking of. I walked up to the door. The husband opens the door, didn't even know I was coming, and then found out that his wife wanted him to take the appointment. I canceled the appointment right there. I walked away, I rescheduled, and I explained to the wife, you are the one that will primarily be making the decision. Am I correct? She says, yes, I'm correct. I said, no offense to your husband. I said, but we're going to reschedule. So get in front of the decision maker. It's a waste of your time. How do I know that? Because I've done it. I've wasted my time before. So number 4 is confirming the objection, right? So you want to reiterate the objection and confirm that if you are able to overcome it, the prospect will be happy to move forward with the sale. Okay. So this second part is really important, because there's no point in taking the time to overcome the objection if it still won't move you over to the finish line, right? So just remember that some prospects are simply never going to buy. In which case, this is not an objection. This is just like a brush off, like they're trying to get rid of you. If they don't have a sufficient budget to afford it, they're not a fully qualified prospect, right? Or they lack authority to make decision, you're just wasting your time, right? So just get out of there. So let's talk about some specific objections that come up often. It's like hot in here in this room because there's no AC in this room. So if we talk about overcoming specific objections, because now we have the basic process down here, those 4, right? So here are the 10 most common sales objections that you will likely to encounter, and what are some ways that we can handle them. So number 1 is, now's not a good time. Well, we've heard that before. I don't usually get this one because I pre-qualify my customer. My customer's usually coming to me looking for a service, so they're already looking for something, and I don't cold call for sales or anything like that. So they're always qualified. But some of you are cold calling, some of you are in different businesses, and you could run into this answer. So timing is a common problem for this, right? For several reasons. There's actually 2 objections hiding in here, right? So number 1, they're saying, personally, I don't have the time to handle this. Number 2, this really isn't a good time to buy. So that's really true, right? So either way, you kind of you have to investigate further to proceed. So how do you handle this? If the prospect thinks that now is not a good time, consider these aspects before continuing. So make sure your prospect is qualified so you don't waste your time, right? We've already kind of gone over that before. Don't oversell because you're feeling desperate. So once you get that feeling that it's not a good time to buy, or the money's not there or anything like that, don't keep going because you're just spinning your wheels and wasting your time. Because the ultimate goal here is to help the lead come to their own conclusion that now, in fact, is a good time to buy, right? So that's kind of what you want to go over on that instance. So number 2, it's too expensive. This one I've dealt with, I've come up with, I've heard this before, right? So a sales objection, like to price, is not as straightforward as it sounds sometimes. So sure, there could be like a lack of cash, but it also could be like a brush off. Like they just said, no, I don't really think in my mind that I want to go with you, right? So it's just the person may not think that your product is good enough, has a good enough value to justify the cost. So how do you handle this? So again, you need to work to uncover the real reasons behind the objection. One thing you can do is try pausing for several seconds, because usually when you do this, they will continue to talk and they'll tell you exactly why they object to it. So they often will volunteer information here. So once they finish talking, I usually will ask a few more questions, like why they think it's expensive. I just kind of come out and ask them sometimes too, right? Because you'll often get a vague feeling if you don't ask specific questions, and you really want the truth. You really want what the real answer is. You don't want the fake answer. This is going to help you learn and get better, at your craft of sales, right? Because you have to remember, it's less about proving the product is worth the price, and it's all about demonstrating value. Because people will you're usually going to be in the ballpark, and people will pay for value. That's what we all kind of need to remember here, because once they see your product is like no other competitor, and that's one of the things that I work on in my programs, my sales programs, my sister's accelerator, and both my sisters who scale like my big 12-week program, is that once you establish value with your product, whatever you're selling, the price is going to matter less. Because if they can justify that value, they say, well, this company has this and the company has that. The other one I used didn't have this, and they didn't communicate well, and they didn't show up on time, or whatever. They start comparing it in their brain anyway. So the more value you have in your product, the better and easier it is to charge a higher price tag, right? Okay. So number 3, I'm already in another contract. This could happen. This I find kind of to be easy, right? So the contractual obligation is really a straightforward concern, okay? So it's relatively simple. So how do we handle this one? So you have a lot of room for flexibility here, right? But it depends on what your prospect is thinking. So genuinely interested prospects might be afraid of cash flow problems if they're in another contract, while others just don't want to feel trapped, right? So I always will ask, okay, when does your contract end? You could wait till it expires, right? In the cleaning industry, usually they're not in a contract for the most part, and they can kind of cancel their service at any time, except for us, because I have everyone in a 30-day agreement, and they can't cancel service for 30 days. Then I have to do that. So if they're really excited to work with you, they will cancel, or they will just maybe pay the fee to get out of their existing contract, right? Like an early cancellation, okay? So number 4, just send me the info. I hate this. I hate dealing with this one, right? So, but it's fun. So when they say, can you send me the information, or can you call me at this point in the future? It can be interpreted 2 different ways. So depending on whether they say like they're early or they're late in the call, right? So how do we handle this one? So if you hear this kind of dismissal early in the call, it's probably just a brush off. They probably just want to get you off the phone, right? So double check your lead qualification, see where it came from, see how an unsuitable lead may have gotten onto your list, first of all, right? If it said later on in the call, the problem may stem from the lead not really understanding the benefits of your product. So if you think this is true, take another look at your presentation. If leads don't understand what you're selling, this is a fatal flaw in your sales presentation, in your marketing. And it's super important to make sure you are crystal clear in your communication. I cannot stress this enough. Communication is key. It'll just alleviate. If you're a great communicator, you'll be a great salesperson, hands down. So that's usually what that is on that one. So number 5 is, I don't have time to talk to you right now. I don't like that one. I don't have time to talk to you right now. Well, I don't have time to talk to you either. Don't you want to say that? No. So first, if this happens, first try and discover if it's really a lack of time. Or if it's something else, hi Rachel, how are you? Thanks for jumping on. Communication is key, yes. So using the general sales objection process above, the interaction might go like this. So if the answer is still no, you're going to have to probe a little deeper and ask more questions to find out what's going on. If you're still struggling to find a way around the objection, consider that the target might definitely have a need, but the urgency of the meeting isn't great or has since waned since you first entered your funnel. So that's how you would handle that one. Number 6, I need to run this past my boss. Some of you are going to encounter this. I don't encounter it as much. But whether or not you'll encounter this objection tends on the company size you are selling to, right? So if a product or a service, 9 times out of 10, you're in front of the decision maker, usually, unless like your B2C, your business to to consumer, you're in front of the consumer, but you're B2B. So if you're dealing with selling to a corporate company or something, you will definitely deal with this. So try and get to the decision maker first. The gatekeeper is a lot harder to sell. All they're going to do is pass on. Yeah, I bet you do, Rachel, especially when you're dealing with your corporate clients, right? Exactly. Yep. I was thinking of you as I was like saying this. I'm like, oh, that's Rachel. But in smaller companies, you can add, you might hear, I need to run it by my partner. So try when you set up the appointment, try and get in front of all the decision makers. That's going to make your life a lot easier, because it's just, then you got to get another appointment. Then they're going to lose in translation some of the information you said to them or whatever. Yep. Office manager. Yep. Totally. So that's how you'd handle that one. Number 7 is product X is cheaper. So this is my favorite one. I get this all the time, so I'm very well skilled in it. There's a lot of cleaning companies out there. We have a power washing division too. There's a lot of power washing companies out there. So we get this a lot, right? So every so often a lead will, they'll try and shut you down by referring you to your competitors, right? So this is a blessing in disguise. And this is when because it's a true comparison, right? So this is when your competitor actually gives you the chance to put your business in the spotlight and then understand what the value of your business is, right? So there's also a good chance that this lead already knows what they need because they've been talking to the competition, so they know what the competition offers. So you can come behind them and say, oh, do they have, a 7-day and a 3-day notification? Or, do they have this? Or, what do you love about, I always ask questions like weird things. I'll be like, what do you love about that company? And see what they say. What do you not like about that company, right? And then, so by me asking all these questions, when I'm in front of them, I get to say, oh, really, we have this, so we have that, right? So that's how I kind of handle that. I always ask a million questions to explore their relationship with the competitor. So like, did they use them before? Does their neighbor, their cousin, their friend use them or whatever, right? So I try and find out what the competitor offers so I see what we offer and see how I can make it better, right? So there should already be extreme value in your product. Your product should be completely, have different things of value, again, beyond what your competitor has. So if you've done this correctly, overcome the objection should be easy. You should know what your competitors are offering and who has whatever. And that's how you can raise your prices. But that's how you can just raise your value above everyone else, right? So, that's what you definitely want to do. What you don't want to do is you never want to lower your prices to match your competitors, right? Because what this does is this decreases your value. And I see this a lot. People will lower their prices. So when people are like trying to get like $20 off or whatever, like they don't understand the value in your service, and they're probably better off not being your customer. So when you get people that are price comparing, you're getting people that aren't concerned with value, and they're only concerned with, the dollar, which in today's, market and inflation and everything, we all have to be concerned about our dollars. But at the end of the day, you really want to have a product that has a lot of value. right? So that was number 7. So number 8 is your offer, or you don't offer feature X, right? So you don't offer something that so-and-so has, right? So these days, people are used to and expect personalization from all of our products, right? And sometimes that's possible, and sometimes it isn't. So if it's not, you can still kind of go along. You can go a long way towards making the product feel that is customized, by giving them extra time in your interactions, and actively listening to their needs and what they want. So customers, they want to be heard. Like, that's why when I sit down with a customer, they do 90% of the talking, because I'm learning about what their needs are. I'm walking around the house and I'm listening to what they're saying, and I ask questions. Have you had a service before? What did you like about them? What did you not like about them? And I come out and I ask right out, I'm like, why did you call me here today? And they're going to tell you, right? So you can't be afraid to have a conversation with them. So they just want to be heard. They want to be listened to, right? And chances are, if you can't make a sale on that day, you're likely to either get a referral later on, and, it all kind of works out in the end. So you're not going to get all of them, but you should get most of them. If you're doing it correctly, you should get most of them, right? So number 9, I need to get a few more quotes. Yeah, I'm just like, blah, 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 right? When you hear that. People love to tell you that they're getting other quotes, that they're getting other bids from others, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to get you to lower the prices and get a deal and get their business, right? And fight for their business. So what I do here is the exact opposite. I tell them it's actually a great idea to go out and get the quotes, because I know in my industry, we bring the goods. Shop us, lash, or love us. So that's Commonwealth. That's Commonwealth. Do you say that with the cookies? It's funny. I do the opposite. So I tell them to go get quotes, right? Because we're the best at what we do. We've perfected the value of what we deliver and our effective communication and skills and reliability and all that stuff, right? And I've gotten this information I ask a million questions. So when I'm in sales appointments, I ask them, and I know what the weak spots are in cleaning companies. And I make sure that those are not our weak spots, right? So that's how I do it, by asking a million questions, right? So we have designed a product to have extreme value, goods, effective communication, reliability. So my confidence comes across in that, and it turns the table on them. So at this point, they actually feel like, oh, if I don't go with this company, I'm going to have fear of missing out. So it's almost like a psychological thing, right? And you can use it to your advantage, because you want to actually push it back on them. You don't want to be in the weak position when they say, oh, I'm getting other quotes. Oh, if you get that price, you should go with them. Oh, really? They won't understand. Because at the end of the day, you're looking for your ideal client. You don't want to fill up your calendar and your schedule with a bunch of clients that are going to be a big pain in the ass, right? Whatever it is, whether it's a product, whether it's food, whether it's cleaning, photography, staging, you don't want the pains in the asses. Oh, well, that's so sweet of you. We love you, Rachel. That's why we hired Made Bright. They are the best in the biz. We love you. But it's really true, though. Like the shopping around sales objection, it's very frustrating, but it's common. It makes you feel weird if you're not confident in your abilities and what you bring to the table. If you are confident, and that's going to take time, you flip the switch and you just say, oh, great, awesome. What have you gotten so far? Get all the information. See what the quotes are. See what they offer. See what their turnaround times are. That is an opportunity for you to get a ton of information for your clients. So as you're moving forward and developing your product and your service, every single day you're getting better. And you're meeting the competition, and then you're going above and beyond the competition, right? So that's what we do. So usually works, actually. unless they get some bottom of the barrel price. So chances are, if they get a bottom of the barrel price, they're going to get bottom of the barrel service. It hardly ever goes another way. And then they will realize that paying for a service with value is worth all the money. So how do we put this all together? Those were the 10 possible sales objections and the opportunities on how we can turn them around. You get what you pay for. That is right. Especially now, because people are starting businesses at an accelerated rate, and a lot of people are starting businesses that don't have the business skills, right? It's actually more important to have the business skills than it is to have the talent, because the business skills can sink you. You may have talent, but if you don't have business skills, like, you could just sink your business if you don't know what you're doing. So the most important thing to realize here is the objection is natural in the sales process. It's going to happen. It's not a reflection on you as a salesperson. So in fact, the objection is the training ground on which you're going to perfect your technique. You're going to get better as a salesperson. It's going to get easier the more you get. And then the more you get, you're going to notice you get the same types of objections. So they get easier and easier for you to answer, right? So if you never encounter any objections, you're never going to get good at it. And you really won't have the chance to, become a great salesperson. And you want to become a great salesperson, right? Who wants to be bad at what they do? So if you want to fine tune overcoming your objection capability, here's how to take it to the next level. And I'll just kind of like circle and I'll like end it from here. So number one is you want to perfect your sales process from start to finish, right? Because sales objections, they don't arise in a vacuum. And if other parts of the sales conversation are broken, the whole process is going to break down, objection or not. So that's number one. So number two, practice makes perfect. Practice on the job, practice in your personal life, practice in the mirror, right? Your sales numbers will thank you for doing this. I know practicing in the mirror seems like kind of weird, but I mean, I've done it before, right? You kind of role play with yourself in the mirror. Number three, your self-awareness is going to be key. So anyone can learn like sales scripts and memorize them, but sales scripts, that's not real life. You can employ them with finesse and do the best you can, but you'll get stumped, then you'll forget it, then you get nervous. So you need to like understand that when all this stuff kind of comes with experience, and the more conversations you have, the more self-awareness you will have about how to answer the objections. And number four is super important because you will get it. So knowing it when to call it quits. So the data sometimes will tell us like to contact a lead like multiple times and follow up and this and that. But like to get through, right? But then there's always a point where the follow-up like isn't really wise. So you start to. So that's number four. So number one was perfect your sales process. Number two is practice makes perfect. Three, self-awareness. And four is knowing when to call it quits. Oh, sorry about that. I'm not sure what I had number one, perfect your sales process. Number two, practice makes perfect. Number three, self-awareness is key. And number four is knowing when to call it quits. So if you didn't hear that, knowing when to call it quits is basically like you need to know when to leave them alone. Usually after 3 or 4 times, right? When they don't answer you, whatever, you kind of just leave them alone. So if you're interested at all, yeah, sure. If you are anyone interested, if you're watching this on live or on replay, if you're interested in hearing of how you can work with me on improving your sales skills, I do have a 4-week program. It's called the Sisters Accelerator Program. It's a 6-session course. It's heavy on sales. It can definitely fast track your business. 6 sessions. So if you are curious to see what I do, I'm getting a glare here because I'm in like the beach house. I got this like old school like wood paneling from like the 40s on the background. It actually kind of looks cool, but it's like really old. But if you're curious for what I do is a fit for you, if you're looking for lead generation, effective communication, improving how to answer sales objections, anything like that, the 4-week program is definitely a good one for you. I will, if you're interested, just put replay in the comments. I'll reach out to you. You can do a quick call. Call's free. You see if it something that would be interesting for you and that would help you. So I hope this helped you all. I hope you like my background with the wood stuff. It's a little different. I don't have my ring light, so you can see all the wrinkles and imperfections. But I love supporting you all on your entrepreneurial journey, and I hope to see you all soon. If anyone's on vacation, have a wonderful holiday week. If you are catching this on a replay, definitely feel free to make some comments, because I love to see who's on. Oh, well, thank you. I do work hard. I do deserve a trip to the beach. I actually was back at checking on a job this morning at 9:30 a.m. So not 100% of a vacation. I wanted to make sure that customer was happy. It was one that required a ton of communication. And again, that's where things will fail if you don't communicate correctly. The minute you make it all about them and their needs, that's when you score. So have a wonderful holiday week, and I will catch up with you all soon. I'll see you later. Bye, Rachel.